that. I need a tripod. Can't do everything with one hand. Let's see if we can start it. Alright, we get inserted into there. Goody. Tripod. Ah. Well, I was going to do this as a live feed, but I think I might do it as a just a proper video, since as I've got time. Customers brought in a kayak. They've had a bit of an incident where they're trying to get the transducer out, and they've ripped a section of the hull at the same time as they tried to feed a knife or something in to cut it out. So I'll show you the problem, and then I'll show you how we'd go about fixing it. Alright, so here's the crack. So that's about what, the top of your finger's worth. So not massive. And small compared to some of the other ones we've patched. But basically what we've got to do is we've got to grind out this whole area, see if this crack goes any further. Due to the nature of the way he did it, it probably won't go further, but sometimes if it's done in the surf or something, there'll be cracks that sort of spread out. So you'll have to take a little bit around the outside off as well with the grinder. Just use one of the, just going to be using this like a flapper disc. So we'll grind around this area here. Careful not to go too deep. You can go deeper here. We want to take all of this sort of cracked area off and just get it back to get rid of all the sort of loose material. Typically, like this is very small compared to some of the patches we've done. Sometimes we've had patches that run all the way across, and you do it basically as a similar principle, but just bigger. And you just got to be aware of how much gap you make and how much hole you make as to how much you need to fill it. But we'll grind away. We'll see what it looks like. Alright, so taking out the back, we can see that there's sort of a crack here, but it should be right there. It doesn't look like it's going to crack any further up. So that's alright there. This is all cracking off, so we'll just rip that off as we go. We'll get something in there and pull it out. Then we'll patch over, fill her up, then we'll be good to go to repaint. We'll sand down and repaint. So when you're doing it as well, I know it seems like I've made such a small looking hole quite big, but you can see once you start peeling it back, you can see actually how much it had actually cracked further up on each side. So it pays just to go bigger, because you're gonna have to patch the whole area anyway, and make sure it's not cracked any further up, and just make sure you get a really good fix, rather than fixing just a tiny little crack that looked like here, but it really had actually ripped a fair bit further on the inside. Might as well take just a little bit off the top and a little bit more as well. Okay, so we definitely went higher then, and you can see the crack actually stopped there, so you can see it was all chipping and flaking here, so much better to get it all. Now we layer up. Okay, we're back at the hole. I just went and grabbed some sandpaper. Just when you're doing this, so obviously I've ground around this area, but really when I'm sticking stuff down, when I'm sticking the resin and patching it up with the chop strand, I'm going to be glassing over this whole area here, so all of this is quite smooth here, so you really want to rough it up with some sandpaper right around, because otherwise you'll get the resin sealing onto the smooth parts that have been painted and nice and smooth, and eventually the water and the flex will lift it up and crack it up, and then the water will get under, the paint will crack off, and we'll have big problems. So it doesn't have to be crazy, just take a smooth edge off so the resin can grip onto it. And that way we've got something to stick to. Okay, bit of advice on this stuff. When you're doing fiberglassing, I always like to keep some rags around, because you inevitably end up needing to wipe your hands on stuff because you get resin all over you. Put it up here. Some resin in the container, so there's your resin. And I've got some thinners just to put the brush in straight away so we don't ruin brushes. But I might ruin this brush anyway because I'm going to use it as a stirrer most probably, so I'll probably crack it in half. Yeah, give it a little wipe down. That's good enough. And then we'll mix our resin. I've got chop strand here, so I've just ripped it up into smaller pieces. And thinner, smaller pieces so we can lay it on like in different sort of parts, so we get like a nice patchy layer, so it's not all just building up too thick in one area, and it's getting a nice sort of crisscross of all the fibres before you put the resin through it. Okay, we've got our resin in, probably more than I need really, but it's we've actually had this resin out already. I used it on another job, so I'm just going to use the rest of it. So for that amount I probably really only need about 1/4 of a cap. You don't want to put too much in. Too much resin and it's going to go off too quickly, and you're not going to have enough time to sort of patch everything up that you needed to. Too little and it's not going to cure properly, so you really pace to sort of get used to how much you need for the amount, but probably about 1/4 of a cap for this is going to be plenty. Okay, so not that you'll be able to see that, I don't think, but yeah, I'm going to put that in. In fact, that is going to be heaps for that amount, so we better get cracking. Once you've done it, we'll crack this open. We'll use that as our stirrer. Once you've mixed, you're under the pump. You've got to make sure time is of the essence, so make sure you mix it nice and evenly, get it right through. This is going to go off quite quickly, so I'm going to have to move fast. Once I dipped that in, I was like, that looks actually like quite a lot. So, get this going on. Maybe we'll put it in here so we don't get it on his kayak. So a couple of small circles back and forward, make sure it gets really mixed through because you want it all to be curing. And then you'll feel the heat start coming through after a while. Okay, we can actually just leave that stick in there, I won't bother. Okay, first things first, get a little closer. Okay, and first thing I'll do is I'll just get the brush and I'll literally just paint right over the whole crack. Get some resin all in there. Don't be shy. Coat the whole area. Everywhere you're sort of going to glass, all around it, and make sure you get it all in and fill in all those loose fibres. Won't take much. There we go. So I like to sort of just get up and under, make sure it really coats it all with resin. Alright. Then we move on to just literally laying some chop strand down. So we can do a patch. Let it down. Once you start wetting down the edge, and you can slowly make it stick. Come on, focus. Yeah. Okay, then we'll put another one on the other side. Okay, now that we've got a bit in the centre, we'll make sure that's nice and juicy. Now when I'm doing this, around the outside, probably got plenty of glass already, but on the inside, that's where we're going to need, like in the inside here in this area, that's where we're going to need to make sure we've got some extra layers and it's nice and thick. So get it nice and thick, and then we'll put a couple of layers over just that centre bit. We'll just go straight in the centre with this bit. Lather up. Now it's always good to go a bit higher than you think, because you want to make sure that you don't have it. It's want it to be is it convex, not concave? So you want it to still be curving nice and up and over like that. If it's going dipping here, then you're going to have to refill this hole if you don't have enough. So you're going to make sure you got plenty in here. It's hard to sort of would have been good if I had a tripod for this shoots, but I don't. So we'll have to make do. So don't be afraid to layer up. It doesn't matter if it goes higher, but it will be a problem if it doesn't go high enough. So just go for it. Okay, there's plenty of resin on there. I might put one more layer on just for the sake of it, just so I know it's nice and strong. Alright, that's plenty actually. You know, like put like at least 2 to 3 layers of chopped strand over, plus all that resin, plus it'll be leaching down through the hole. Okay. And make sure, so when you're doing this, you want to make sure, like, so there's not many bubbles in this one, but you want to work out your bubbles. You could use a roller, but not so much for this kind of patch job. You can just use your brush and make sure all the fibres have the resin all through them, because the fibre is going to give you your strength. There we go. So lots of fibres through that resin. And we've got plenty of height there, so when we sand it back, we can get it back to flush. Okay, now I just want to get under and I quickly paint some, there's a couple of cracks on the inside of the hatch that I want to paint in, and I might even paint just on the inside of the back of here as well, just to give it a little bit of extra strength, but I'm sure there'll be plenty sort of all leached through anyway. So have a look on the sides, make sure it's nice and raised, it's looking good. Okay, now I'm getting stuff on my phone, so go rag and go thinners. Need some thinners around. The one thing about this, you're going to get sticky no matter what you do, just about. So be prepared for that. Alright, so you can see it's still already changing colour. It's going out sort of a clear to a yellow, and you'll see, like even if you touch the bottom of here, you'll feel that it starts to get hot from about this point on. Once it starts to get a bit harder, it's not quite there yet, but yeah, once you see it starting to change colour, you know your sort of time is of the essence. But we're all done now, we're patched up. So I might even just move it over into the sun over there. I've got some stands set up. We'll get over into the sun and make it go a little harder. So I just had to come backstairs. So we got the kayak back out. Just let it cure for 24 hours, and just to get it, because you want the fiberglass to go nice and crisp and hard, so when you're sanding it out it's nice and dusty and it's not still tacky and sticky. So we've waited that time, so it's the next day. Just grab some sandpaper. We're going to work our way down through, say, what do we got here? We got 40, then we go working our way down to the higher numbers. And then we go to, so that's 400, that'll probably be towards the end, but we've got the real coarse stuff at the beginning to get the chunk of it off. I could even use the grinder to get it down a bit faster, but we'll go with this because it'll go pretty quick with the air sander. So we've got it all hooked up, work our way down through, and then once we get closer to crunch time, when we're trying to get it nice and smooth, just working our way, keeping it nice and smooth, and making sure we're getting a nice, even, kind of rounded finish. Over to 240. So just when we were doing that, obviously you only really need to repair this area and just trying to keep it localized in this area, because it's sort of pointless. It just makes a lot more sounding and a lot more work once you're around here. So And then we'll just work on this part now. It's pretty smooth already. See how smooth it's getting out, yeah. And we've got all our little bits of resin that were sort of up around the edges all gone. And we'll just hit it with something lighter and then we're done. Okay, and to finish it off we'll put some 400. She's going to take it pretty smooth, smooth enough to paint from that point on. That is smooth as. Nice. Alright, that's looking pretty darn neat. It's nice and smooth now. We went down to 400 in the end, which is more than enough for the painter to deal with it from that point on. So we'll ship it off to Graham the painter. And any of these little divots you can see, I don't know if I can get close enough, you can see them in there. They'll all get filled in with a bit of a primer, so we don't need to worry about any of them. You're always going to get those, even if you sort of roll out and get all the bubbles. Sometimes you do get a few divots, but that's alright. So just making sure we've got all the excess resin off. Obviously I put quite a bit on, you probably should go a little lighter next time, just to cut down on the workload, because really it's only the stuff that's in here that's actually in the hole that's actually going to stay. So, but yeah. It's ready for painting. We'll ship it off. Easy to fix and paint on white, and then we will be done. Alright, so that's it pretty much. Like I thought, figure out while I was at work, I might as well just, and while I had to fix one, I might as well do a little how-to or DIY on it. It's actually quite easy. If you want to minimise work, maybe don't put too much glass on and go too thick or too wide, but you don't want to be caught short and not have enough either. See, I gave myself a spray with the air hose as well, because that fiberglass gets in everywhere. So if you got shorts on like I did today, probably better to do it in long pants and long sleeves and then just strip it all off. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the repair. Once that's painted, it'll come up just perfectly flat and smooth as per normal. So after painting, good to go. So hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next vid. Bye.